Welcome back to the LPL. We are in the midst of BLG versus EDG, and heading into the second game, EDG have elected to pick blue side in this one, but let's jump back to some of the Champions Select points that we did have moving into the second game as well, because Galio, it's the first time we see him getting picked up in the mid lane, and essentially he's back, he does the same things that he always does. He turns up, he farms.
Yep, he's a tank, he taunts everybody, he enables the team, and he protects a lot of the damage dealers, or complements extra engage. In this particular game, it was Tahm Kench that was using the ultimate to be in the front line, or a Sejuani that was dashing forwards, and that was the primary engage for them. So having Galio was decent for Bilibili as comp is concerned, but when you look at the Galio, the reason it was there at all, I feel like, yes, he was into a Malzahar, and his goal was to not die, but there was 6 picks / bans before he picked for himself, and BLG could easily fix this by picking mid lane earlier.
True. Rusty, what are your thoughts on Tahm Kench? Because he was picked up on the third rotation, because it was the third pick coming in from BLG. Now, you're basically sitting there, it's just like, pick Tahm Kench. Where's Tahm Kench? When's Tahm Kench coming?
Tahm Kench is the best. Tahm Kench is the best support right now, alongside Braum and Alistar, 2 of the others, and Shen as well in the support position. I just think that Tahm Kench is too strong compared to the rest because he's a tank just like they are. He has crowd control just like they do with the slow. He can save his allies as well, which some of them can't do. And he has the ability to traverse the map with the ultimate, and to bring someone with him doing that. It's the reason that BLG are able to get picks at all in the early game, and honestly, that's too many things that a Tahm Kench can do right now.
I'm pretty much just wondering where the priority is going to come in for BLG heading into the second game, because they didn't elect for necessarily winning lanes. Because you look at top lane, for example, they very early picked on the Vladimir, and then the counter came out. Finally, we saw the Cho'Gath go into the top lane. Not a lot the Vladimir can do in that matchup, because Cho'Gath actually has kill potential. Ray almost killed him in that 1v1 as well using the flash.
Yeah, the Vladimir starts with Ignite to have a stronger laning phase, so there is definitely a valid option there to say that pick Vladimir again. Again, give Amazing J carry champions. He's a very good carry player, and I feel like this is a sound strategy for them to implement. I would change Athena's champion personally from the Galio by getting it sooner for them, or they use the Vladimir as more of a flex, but they picked it at the same time, and they prioritized, like, the overall draft of BLG was good. In fact, if I was to criticize the draft, it would be EDG by getting Rengar second and 4th picking the support. So I have more questions for their draft than anything else. I just don't think the problems lied solely in the draft for BLG. It was more that they need to set themselves up more accordingly. And if they're going to engage more proper, and don't give EDG so many opportunities, including to pick Kalista, to engage on you.
Yeah, I mean, from what I saw, it was a lot of silly mistakes I was seeing from BLG, like being out of position, being in random places, like getting caught out by a Malzahar who's clearly just gone full cooldown reduction and is only built to catch people out of position. So there are no subs heading into the second game, however. EDG did elect toward the blue side though, so we will have a side swap up for the 2 teams.
I think the other thing regarding draft as well for EDG, now that we've touched on them briefly, was the Cho'Gath, the champion of choice. Now, I do think the Cho'Gath is one of the, not counter picks per se, but a very good pick into the Vladimir, which is why I think Amazing J had such a difficult time on Summoner's Rift. And I would not say anyone in their right mind should ban the Cho'Gath, but BLG, if they had the opportunity to be on the red side, should actually last pick for Amazing J to ensure there is no Cho'Gath in that matchup.
Sure. What about the Kalista though? Because iBoy, I mean, obviously he's a very good AD carry, but you also give him Kalista in that draft as well. Like, it doesn't matter what you give him. It feels like Kalista is still just very good globally right now.
Kalista is a very big deal. I have a hard time saying that BLG should change any of their bans though to make way for the Kalista, and that is something that we'll have to explore here. Ryze is super big for the mid lane of EDG. Zoe as well, you just can't give away Zoe. They were on blue side, they had first pick. So maybe they could have recycled that ban. I gave it to EDG and picked the Kalista for themselves if they wanted, but they had a priority on Sejuani. So ultimately, I'm not sure where that ban's going to go, but Kalista is a problem. You're absolutely right.
I mean, frankly, the big 4 mid laners were banned out apart from Malzahar, and he's the only reason why he managed to get through. So I do agree with you that it will be pretty difficult to fit the Kalista in there, but they just kind of need more bans before they pick the Kalista up, because obviously it's going to be a first pick if it's left up for them, and precisely a first pick since they have the blue side.
Yeah, certainly. Of course, maybe they just get rid of the Ryze completely from the ban list. There's a world where instead of banning 6 mid laners, they just get rid of 4 of them and then have one of the other stronger mid laners for themselves. That could be a good way to keep iBoy a little bit further down.
A lot of questions for the drafts and a lot of questions for in-game as well, but we are going to solve them as fast as we can as we send it over to the casters.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Dom, once again joined by Froskirin, and we're just about ready to hop into game number 2 of the Civil War, the battle between EDG and BLG. And you gotta stop doing that. Look, I got my hand. Look, Raz can have hand motions. I can have hand motions too.
Yours are more like hand circles.
Look, I like doing hand circles, okay? But somebody else who likes doing hand circles is somebody who's got his hands on the mouse in this game. Amazing Jay, you saw him trying to warm himself up coming up on stage. It is a little chilly here in Shanghai. We got some snow yesterday. It's still a bit frosty outside, so very important for the players to keep themselves nice and warm coming into this, because this is an important match for BLG. If they lose this 0-2, it could just be a repeat of all of those other years, all of those other times that they've lost before, and I don't think BLG want to stand for that.
Well, it does mean, bad things for BLG because they are undefeated. They want to take down long-term rivals EDG. It would actually mean really cruel things for the group, though, because similar to what's happening in the Eastern Conference, it would suddenly be a giant circle where everyone is beating everyone, and it feels like 2018 Spring Split of the LPL. We have surprise contenders like BLG, really shining in and making this such a tight horse race before going into cross-conference.
Mm-hmm. And with all of this intense competition, you can only be sure that the games are just as exciting. Even BLG starting to pull back in the late game just before EDG cut the rope and let them go to the very end. But still, we're in picks and bans here. Game number 3, immediate Jarvan. Look, Haro, people joke about you having a champion coin. He has 2 champions, Kha'Zix or Jarvan, and it's open. So he picks Jarvan.
And what's interesting is that he's picking Jarvan as the priority when Sejuani or Malzahar have been kind of the much higher picks for the LPL as first rotation, even over the likes of Kalista and Ryze's band. The normal big combo the LPL, in fact, not just the LPL, globally likes to run, is the Ryze snare into the Jarvan flag and drag, and that's not an option. So if this is just pure comfort for Haro or EDG have something else in mind, we'll find out.
The follow-up is going to be Braum for Road in the bottom lane. Perhaps some early looking ahead towards the fact that Ornn is still open, that Kalista is banned away. But here's the Malzahar question. You got to look towards that part of the equation.
And it's interesting that they're still going to prioritize Braum. I have this really interesting thing that I want solved. This problem that I want solved is like, who is the bigger problem, Tahm Kench or Ornn? And now it makes sense. So why wouldn't you pick Tahm Kench here, who has a ridiculous win rate, who is seen globally, who denies big power picks like the Malzahar? It's because denying the Braum is so much more important because it allows Kog'Maw to be played. It's not about the Ornn. It's about the fact that Ornn can destroy the backline with his ultimate and stop low mobility hyper carries from succeeding.
And now with that Kog'Maw locked in, we see the answer from EDG. Kalista taken away from iBoy, so he falls back to something just as strong. Varus is the secondary pick, and Malzahar again for Scout, though he did give Galio the cheeky hover like, all right, I see you, Athena. But that means Taliyah is open, and that was banned last time.
Corki makes a bit more sense to me as a pick specifically into Malzahar. He can itemize pretty aggressively. He wins the lane. He can match the push. And he also has the added benefit of the roam potential. Also mixed damage. It now opens up a lot more opportunity for AJ to take a AP top laner.
We'll see how that works out. Alistar banned away from Mako. Got to try to limit away that bottom lane as much as you can.
Yeah, it should be Ali and Tahm Kench. Actually, no, they don't even have to ban the Tahm Kench. What am I saying? They just want to ban anything that can disrupt the Kog'Maw here. I was saying the Tahm Kench should be taken away because it's a Malzahar, but sorry, I got lost. EDG don't even need to grab the Tahm Kench if they don't want it. If it's free, that's totally fine. Again, like I said, it shouldn't be Tahm Kench. It should just be supports for lockdown, so Leona also makes a lot of sense there.
And that is BLG showing that they do respect that bottom lane. I mean, iBoy with a huge CS lead in the previous game in a pushing lane. Well, now it's up against Braum Kog'Maw, so we'll see what Mako decides to pull out in this next round of picks to try to deal with that.
And it should be the next ban should also be another jungler. So with Braum, they want to make sure that they're taking away really aggressive or heavy ganking styles. Instead, they're going to go with the Ornn. I think that's kind of like a throwaway ban at this pick. Yes, you can give it away if you want to play, I mean, Varus is low mobility, but then you leave something like the Maokai open, and frankly, I don't think AJ really plays Ornn, or at least not as well as some of the other Ornn players, and that's kind of been the thing about AJ, is that he'll fall back to legacy picks like this, and he's not as quick or adept as, like, very current meta. So, no surprise that when BLG we're seeing, like, a Vladimir Cho'Gath, like, you know, last year matchup, that they find success whenever the meta kind of pushes their champions back in vogue.
And now that's Maokai locked in for Amazing J. So again, BLG sort of sticking towards a similar strategy. Try to keep yourselves grouped up. Look for those big 5v5 team fights along with some scaling. But EDG have already shown that they know how to deal with this. Cho'Gath again picked up for Ray in the top lane.
And still a very similar idea about how the Cho is going to lane against the Maokai versus how he did the Vladimir. Like Vladimir, Maokai also has built-in sustain onto his passive. He doesn't have necessarily the biggest pushing power, but Cho'Gath is just going to bully him around the lane, and Maokai effectively has to cop it. And just, I'm going to see you in the 5v5 team fights, guys. Have fun.
Which of these two tanks will be bigger is the name of the game. Which of the two is harder to kill, especially when one of them has a Taric on the team.
Yeah, and what's cool is that Taric, Ardent Censer tank support, but also a Baron Chiding support. And that's kind of been the theme from all of EDG's compositions. They've always been a very Baron-centric team. But again, you have the Malzahar, you have the Cho'Gath, you don't have Kalista, but now you have Taric who can proc Ardent Censer multiple times and help shred that objective down within seconds.
Oh, this is interesting. Ivern is the lock-in for SKS, knowing that there's a Jarvan who can evade him. Look at that. Both Amazing J and Ray with a bit of smile. They're not in comms with each other, we swear, but the two did play together when they were previously in the EDG Academy. So perhaps a bit of familiarity, recognizing or perhaps chuckling at an old joke.
Everyone is very familiar across both these rosters. Again, former sister teams, the organizations trained together a lot. So I wouldn't be surprised if they were also still heavy scrim partners.
Absolutely. But the Ivern, that seems to stand out for SKS. He really loves aggressive junglers so much. He loves to get in people's faces. But taking the Ivern, you really don't do that as Ivern. Not so much.
And you do have very interesting pathing. We actually have a couple of Ivern, not mains, but players in the LPL. I believe we have about 3. So SKS is joining great company like MLXG on the Ivern, and we'll just see how it adjusts the game. Because anytime Ivern's in the game, I actually really enjoy casting their games because it vastly changes the first 7 minutes of the game and the first initial jungle rotations.
We're going to be keeping our eyes on Haro this time to see if he can look for an early advantage or if he just plays it nice and slow otherwise. As the fans, still lots of fans here for ELG, that you can't see the Bilibili sign in the background. As BLG going over their strategy one final time. Again, this is their last game against EDG. Amazing J, you can see he's respecting the seriousness of the situation.
Yeah, with a giant grin on his face. But it is such a BLG-esque type of composition, whereas EDG went all in on the iBoy basket in game number 1. BLG have done a very similar thing for game number 2. Now they have the Kog'Maw, they have the priority pick of the Braum. They denied that Ornn pick. They gave all of the resources to him. They've got the Ivern, they've got the Maokai. You know, they're trying to create that big tanky front line and just let Jin Zhao really shine on one of his signature picks.
That Kog'Maw, very powerful, but he's up against a very small Titan, iBoy. Maybe Stall in stature outside of the Rift, but on the Rift, he is massive. But we've loaded on, and for the first time in 2018, we get to see EDG on the blue side of the map. They've played red side exclusively.
I was expecting some BLG cheers to join them.
This time.
There we go.
Yeah. Maybe a quiet
Get the light bright.
BLG fan. As the fans happy to cheer on their favorite players. But again, we've loaded here onto the Rift. You can see BLG on this red side. Haro immediately steps forward, takes that Demacian standard to scout out and see where that Ivern's going to be.
And that's exactly it. He's trying to find where Ivern's going to start, where he's going to set up. Again, everyone knows this. We've seen Ivern enough in League of Legends that he's going to dramatically change how pathing is done. It's curious how Haro's going to react to him. So the last time that we saw an Ivern in the LPL, there was actually a Jarvan-Ivern matchup. And the Jarvan did a very cute maneuver, knowing that Ivern had set up his camps, then would walk to the other side of the map to set them up, then return to that side to pick them up. MLXG set a trap where he just stood in a brush next to a camp that had been set up for Ivern, and he waited.
Devious. Well, SKS, he starts making friends with the forest animals. Oh, did he cancel that one there?
He doesn't like that guy.
Yeah.
Not invited.
Gromp has to grow on you. It takes a little bit of getting used to there. But looks like Haro, with a smaller leash, starts off blue buff and heads over to the Gromp on his own. SKS still holding on to that smite, and you can see the already defensive ward on red buff, and even Road pulling back into the jungle to ward and make sure that same play doesn't happen again.
It just puts a giant signpost that says, I will return here to pick this up. Just like leaving your free lunch. Even SKS, they're so paranoid that Jarvan is going to come in and just mess with Ivern that he defensively warded on the back half of his red, and now he's sitting in the brush, waiting for his friends of the forest. There we go.
There he goes. Gets enough mana. That's the first smite. Immediately picks up the red. Haro with a full clear on top side. Even heads over towards Scuttle. And Ray steps forward to get vision of the Krug. So it looks like though the creative pathing for Ivern is in effect, EDG seem to be on top of it.
Yeah, I like the adjustment for SKS, waiting for his smite to be up and then immediately clearing one side of the jungle, particularly the red buff, never letting himself get too low, and using a defensive vision to make sure that he can secure all of his camps. And now, what does he do with all of the freedom and the giant window that he has, where he doesn't need to be farming, where he can gank the world?
Well, it is an excellent question. There are plenty of wards placed by EDG. One at the Raptor to keep an eye on that potential avenue of entry. Look at that, an on my way ping from SKS, but there's already a ward there placed by Scout and Ray, Scout and Haro just a few moments earlier.
And I know that we've been talking a lot about SKS, but I also do want to mention the fact that EDG have done this twice in a row, where they allow Mako and Iboy. At first, I thought it was so that they could set up early gank paths for them, but I actually think it's not about the gank pass anymore, that it's simply about letting Iboy and Mako first into the lane so they constantly have lane dominance. Yes, Varus into Kog'Maw, that's going to happen, but EDG will almost always make sure that their bot lane never has to leash for the jungler, is constantly getting the advantage on first push or the position on the first minion wave.
Well, when you've got Iboy opening up a 70 CS advantage 30 minutes in, that's something to be respected, as Road and Jin Zhao just trading some damage with Mako.
We will not respect.
Absolutely. And still just continuing to catch minion wave after minion wave. Haro, I see the drive and I immediately assume it's Ray. No, Haro with the full clear. He picked up Scuttle, he went full side top, he's now going for Krugs, even picking up the Scuttlecrab bottom.
And he's defined himself a little bit as kind of a farm jungler. I haven't seen a lot out of Haro in the early game in terms of the tape that we have for 2018, even though he is a Kha'Zix Jarvan two-trick.
He has two champions that he can pull out.
Flip a coin.
And this time it came up heads, so that's Jarvan. And still, though, that's going to be first recall. Picks himself up that warding trinket and a ruby crystal very early on, but now that means SKS has a brief opportunity. Sneaks into the jungle, and he's actually looping around bottom side. Even the on my way ping from Scout, he might know, but it might be too late.
Isn't it the most terrifying thing when the murderer just, like, jaunts after you, looking for the Q?
He's not coming out of the trees. He is the trees. Oh, man, the root caller tags onto Iboy. Brushmaker, that's a late teleport. They're looking for Iboy. They found him. SKS go hit the double buff, looking for first blood. He's so low, sidestepping as best he can, but it's an all-out brawl. 4 people as Jin Zhao flashes to safety. But Mako, low health, he's still safe. This is Haro following it up with Scout to get some more, but that's a good root caller onto Scout. Athena goes forward, looks for Scout, gets the Valkyrie, gets the auto. 2 kills to BLG.
And finally, we have some action within 5 minutes of the game. Again, BLG normally aren't a very proactive lane phase team, but they turn the aggression of Iboy and Mako on its head with a very early gank.
And now SKS, he's going to clear out this ward and look for another opening. We didn't see either teleport top lane teleport in. It's BLG. You can see SKS starts this off with a root call.
And very quickly check out the minimap and look at all of the vision. Iboy and Mako have their pretty much entire flank as well as the blast plant covered, but just great pathing. The fact that Scout hasn't dropped a ward on ramp, that it wasn't covered, allows SKS to slip into EDG's blind spot when normally that should be covered. So the jungler and the mid laner are going to look at that tape, and Iboy and Mako are just pointing fingers. What is that? Our river was warded.
We did our job. I don't know about you guys, but Scout stepping forward just a little bit too far, gets punished, and the Valkyrie auto from Athena to lock down the final kill. Again, first blood going to Road in this game too, the exact same as game number 1.
just means that he has that much more money to spend specifically on control wards. Check out what Road has. It's not just the completed Sightstone that he matches with Tarek, but he picked up 3 control wards, which means he can start wrestling back some of that bot lane river control that EDG have and open up more opportunities for SKS and Athena once the package is available to punish iBoy and Mako's aggression. iBoy should not get the same CS lead that he had in game number 1 and game number 2, and BLG are doing that through very aggressive ganks.
Already you can see they're keeping their bottom lane warded up just a bit. Amazing J, he's getting pushed in wave after wave by Ray and is actually going to recall to be safe. As Scout picks up his blue. A ward placed by EDG earlier will spot out SKS. We'll see if he
now we
looks for more creative pathing elsewhere, but that's teleport up top for Amazing J.
And he's also got an Ivern on the way. Ray should force this in and then make his back. If he overstays because AJ's looking tasty, he would open himself up to a gank, which is exactly what SKS was thinking.
Yeah, yes, Ray is not going to make the same mistake as in the previous game. As instead, everyone just returns towards their own side.
Leans back from his seat and looks across the stage at Ray. Sup.
Again, those two players actually on the complete opposite sides of the stage, tragically. It's Mako and Road who are closest. Perhaps they can just make eyes at each other whenever they
can
can.
Feel his eyes, Tom.
Exactly.
Just like you can feel mine on you right now.
Yes. Well, ooh, Daisy steps forward, looking for the knock-up on Taharo. Just a bit of harass to try to push EDG back onto their own side of the map. That first dragon is Mountain instead of the double cloud from the previous game, so a lot more priority for both of these teams to take it.
And it's really hard for EDG to step into the river. Athena, very confident, has the red buff on the Gorky, did pick up one of those kills in the last skirmish, and even though it's just Boots and Phage as well as a Cole, he's going to be pretty happy in about 27 CS.
27 exactly?
Yep. 26 now.
I'm going to hold you to that. As Road just going to contest this vision for EDG's bottom lane down here. SKS is being quite present in that jungle.
The word you're looking for is obnoxious?
Oh, man. Walking forward towards the red buff.
That doesn't look impressive, but that's so hard to do.
Ooh, red buff seems to be having some trouble here. Oh, because SKS, he's being friends of the forest. He claims it with a smite steal, and Haro didn't know what to do. He was freaking out about why red buff wasn't resetting. And SK, oh man, hiding himself on the Brushmaker. Okay, there were levels to that play.
There was depth.
There was some depth.
It was some inception. We talked about eye contact.
I didn't even know what was going on, and then I was like, oh, I get it now.
He looked deep into Jarvan's soul.
He did.
This is mine.
And Jarvan is like, I don't understand why this tree is eyeballing me, but I want my red buff.
That sounds like a really bad time.
Still, though, it's double buff for both Athena and SKS picked up his own red buff earlier, so things are looking a little happy for BLG. They've got these first 2 kills. They're 1,300 gold ahead.
Little happy tree. And we're starting to see the experience lead. So BLG, a very different tactic than we saw from game 1. You know, I kind of expected this to be the hunker down. You know, we're going to cop it a little bit, just stand underneath our towers, and we'll see you in the 5v5. But SKS is like, no, not today.
On the least suspecting champion. Not invading, not ganking.
Ivern is like Zoe. The fact that, like, when Zoe hits you with the trouble bubble and then you immediately see, like, a flash cleanse in response and she just jump ropes after you, but you know that the nuke's coming. Ivern's very similar. The way that he auto-attacks and he just, like, it's not even walking. I don't know what it is.
It's a jaunt. It is a jaunt. You can't really call it a saunter.
It's actually terrifying.
Nightmares about that champion. Amazing J and Ray still holding on up top. It's Feast used by Ray as Athena. Oh, come on. EDG are so mean about canceling recalls. This is the second time this game denying SKS's recall earlier, now denying mid lane.
There's also now opportunity since Scout does have ultimate alongside Haro where a play can be made.
Daisy used by SKS. He was just feeling a little lonely, wanted some company.
They use him a lot for scouting. We saw this again by MLXG, how good he was at micromanaging Daisy, and it doesn't look tough, but Annie players, Ivern players, you guys know, it is actually very impressive to manipulate 2 champions at once. This isn't Dota. We're not manipulating 20 characters on the screen.
Tibbers AI is sometimes the best thing in the game and sometimes the worst thing in the game.
All you gotta do is hit it, Dom.
Well, no, if you're trying to
I don't care if you control it.
This is a story for another time. Story for another time. Alrighty, so now we've got the package picked up by Athena. He's sitting on a big one, and the opportunity to roll around the map. Jin Zhao and Road step forward towards that Mountain Dragon.
And that's why. It's because Athena does have the package available, so you can see suddenly the confidence of Kog'Maw and Braum. They have staked their claim. They're trying to control all of that river. EDG have responded by trying to get some shallow wards in BLG's jungle, just some sort of defensive line so they can do something with this information. But the Mountain Dragon is completely controlled by BLG. It's just a matter of how brave are they feeling to try to force this one. And without Kog'Maw having Rage Blade, I would say not very brave. They're probably going to hold tight for a little bit.
And while this is going on, Ray is having himself a great time, constantly harassing Amazing J on that top side of the map, getting more and more health with his grasp of the Undying. Still, though, that's a lot of vision for BLG. If SKS can find an opening in the wall of wards that EDG have placed, he might be able to find his way in somewhere.
So it's the fact that eventually those wards will time out, and then it's so hard for EDG to get access back into that side of the jungle. So eventually EDG will run out of time. In fact, Scout is, that is the poor man's blue buff take. That is, I will do it myself.
Oh, man. Well, his jungler's back in the base trying to refresh on wards,
Did he
fighting
give up?
over vision.
He gave up.
He did. Oh, man. Poor guy.
Oh, no! Turn off the lights!
Oh. And again, we look towards the VOD review session. You can already hear the coaches in the background. Remember this part where you stepped over to try to take the blue buff?
So explain to me why you lost 7 creeps. I think it was only 4, but...
Yeah. Still, he's finally going to be able to finish it off. That Malefic Vision's and some help. Gets the final tick. Scout's back in the mid lane. We're in it, boys. He does get the experience, though, whereas Athena only gets the buff.
Is that the silver lining?
That is, well, hey, you got to find it in something here. Level 10 ticked over
He also
to
gets
by
the
Athena.
exercise, dog. He had to walk over there twice.
That's a whole 0.1 calories for those 2 extra clicks. As, ooh, a quick
good
dazzle.
sidestep.
Yeah. Finds Road, but Jin Zhao just going to step forward. Still no Rage Blade. He's getting closer and closer towards it.
Our boy really wants that ward. And as soon as he looked at the bush, Road was like, no.
Another knock-up onto Amazing J. Still a very, sort of a slower pace game. It looks like we're back to that poker game from our first game.
We're
the respectful trades.
Again, waiting on big item breakpoints. Kog'Maw is now going to back, and this is going to be the green light. They're probably going to hand the blue buff over to Corki, probably get one last reset, and then start prepping their waves, prepping their vision, and moving towards that dragon. So there's the Rage Blade that's coming for Kog. They need to now go back down, force the bot wave back out, which is why you see the ping onto the tower, and then from there they can make the decision. Did we find EDG in a skirmish in river? Can we force the dragon? Or are we just going to try to 4-man siege up the tower, maybe even bring a teleport down? Because it's now level 11 on both top laners.
That's why we can see both teams looking for their buffs. They're getting themselves back out onto the map. Who's got more wave clear? The Corki or the Malzahar? As still just burning away at the health of those minions. False Bomb. Athena gets it just a little bit faster, and immediately the dragon is pushed into by Athena by Road.
Yeah, and Athena right now is just playing goalkeeper. EDG know exactly what is happening. It's now a matter of can they do anything about it. And it could start in the top lane because Raid does have a significant health advantage, but not a lot of mana.
Brushmaker will disguise BLG, but Mako leads the charge. He's found Road on the side, and they will be able to pick up that Mountain Dragon without using a smite. That's stun onto Haro. He's slowed. Daisy's following up. She is hungry for blood, but he's going to be knocked up. Root Collar prevents Mako from chasing as Athena just trades with Scout. And BLG are successful in taking that Mountain Dragon.
Yeah, they're starting to throw around their weight. It was just very clean and very beautifully done by BLG. And again, this isn't the first time that they've out-macroed, I'll use the term very loosely, EDG. It was also in game 1 that BLG were finding, small gold leads or tempo leads in the game because they were making faster decisions and rotations to key objectives.
BLG, the little brothers, showing that they've got some experience as well, and trying to fight back against big brother EDG, and showing that, hey, we've got some plays, we've got some moves of our own. You haven't seen our whole repertoire just yet.
Haven't we, though?
Yes, 5v5 late game team fight.
That's it, and that's something. Well, I love BLG, and they're such a fun team to watch, and they do have, these big personalities like AJ, Athena, even, Jin Zhao has his moments. I mean, I can pretty much just go through the whole roster because now I'm thinking about, like, Road's a pretty big personality too.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they really haven't changed their identity, which kind of makes them a patch team. You know, if their champions come into rotation, they suddenly look like gods. But my fear is that eventually these champions, this style, won't be as viable as it is right now, and BLG will again fade back into kind of a mid-tier team. So I want to see some sort of evolution here, or someone stand up other than AJ.
Well, they've got some time. Still on patch 8.1. Season 8, there have been some crazy things. Perhaps BLG could find what they need.
Yeah, the bot lane Relic Shield going to get nerfed, though, so Kog'Maw's not going to be as protected down there.
Yeah, quite as comfortable. SKS shows up bottom. Dazzle hits only Daisy, who follows up onto that root collar. iBoy steps forward. Gwinsu's available for both of our bottom laners.
And Haro is just on babysitting duty right now, just trying to react to the pressure that BLG are forcing. They really want to force down the tower. The issue is that Scout can't follow as freely because he doesn't have the teleport, whereas Corki does.
Meanwhile, up top, both of our top laners have decided they only harass each other when the minions are dead. As Amazing J, he's having a real tough time with Ray.
And this is what's forcing BLG's hand. Although, hold on, I think he's
That's
not
the
just
Valkyrie.
Does
Athena have this? He's got the Triforce, but Scout just sidesteps the big one.
So BLG's hand is being forced because Ray has just completely dominated AJ in the top side. Maokai is not having a fun time with this matchup. He's actually just trying to hold the creeps off the tower and delay the tower from falling. So this is what this is. It's a race for first tower. EDG are trying to hold off so Ray can grab it, which he will, and BLG are assembling their entire attack squad in the bottom lane to try to trade it.
Still, though, that's Ray with first brick. The top tier 1 has been sundered. And now EDG are starting to find a bit more momentum in this match. Though still, BLG looking for presence bottom. They pull back as SKS retreats. Athena heads his way back towards that mid lane with his teleport to make sure that he can keep himself safe on the map. But 18.5 minutes in, it's been a bit of a cerebral, slow game. Still looking for those big items.
I feel like we're just seeing the rise of Godzilla. Like, it's been kind of a slow birth, but this Cho'Gath is huge, and BLG can't do anything about him in the top lane. And now EDG, they can start shifting focus. You see Scout moves out of his lane. He definitely wants his blue buff, but there's no one there to deliver it, so he's just taking another stroll. But he's just trying to create safety for Ray. Now EDG have moved in Vision underneath Ray, and unless BLG do something, Cho is just going to sit there and continue to be Godzilla.
You can see another ping towards it as actually, no, they caught iBoy recalling, window shopping. Oh, that's embarrassing.
The smile on his face, though, he's like, yeah, I was looking at some boots. I don't need them because I've got my free ones, but there was a sale.
Still, you gotta look every once in a while.
It's very fitting, though, for someone like iBoy. Like, we've spoken with him a couple of times backstage. I don't know how else to put it. You said at the very beginning of the game, Dom, that he's such a big personality in a tiny package. That kid has so much confidence and so much swagger about him. He believes he is the best ADC.
Putting on a good performance for us in game 1, but now he's already got 2 more deaths than in that previous game, so not quite as spectacular as SKS.
That mistake, though, like I said, takes the tower, so BLG still very happy. 2K gold lead, and Athena gets another blue buff.
Yeah,
which is
returning back towards the mid lane.
More than I can say for Scout sometimes.
He's doing it himself now. He's actually stopped waiting for Haro to show over on that side of the map, but iBoy smart enough to know that, hey, we've lost bottom. All right, let's follow it up mid. BLG already prepped and ready.
This is very risky, though. Scout can't be there, and he's realizing that right about now. He's like, I don't know. I don't have teleport. I've got ghost, so I guess I can try to ghost away if I feel really unsafe. But he doesn't have any vision. He basically just dropped his E and then immediately ejected from the lane.
Athena catches up to the minion wave to make sure Sturt doesn't take any unnecessary damage. And still, 20 minutes in, EDG playing the smart game, BLG playing the long game. Question is, which of these 2 strategies is superior?
Well, when there's a Kog'Maw in the game, I definitely have my answer. The question, though, is execution. BLG have really been suffering about when they, choose their moments. I got a little bit frustrated in game number 1 because I felt like they could have chosen their moment a couple minutes earlier, but they may get the chance now.
Ooh. Knock up onto Mako, still holding on to his Cosmic Radiance. Scout catches up along with Haro. Dazzle onto Daisy.
And the thing is, it's Infernal Drake, which is why you see the skirmishing, and there goes Braum.
Oh, what a turn. They found Road separated from his team. Nether Grasp, along with Cosmic Radiance, to prevent any follow-up. They find the kill. But AJ completes his teleport. He goes very deep. He finds Haro. That's the jungler dead. Now, Athena is firing across with Jin Zhao, but he's pretty low mana, and now that Daisy is gone, it's up to AJ. He turns into Mako. A knockup buys him time, and he flashes back to safety. Still, Athena's firing on the side. Ray again trading with Amazing J, but this time there are their teams behind them. Another knockup, as Ray is forced to pull himself back, and Athena still firing shot after shot.
And Athena and Jin Zhao were the primary damage there. Did a great job making sure that when the dominoes were set up, that they were pushing them over. But huge credit to SKS and AJ there. How they were using the brush in the lane, how they were hiding the Maokai and forcing Ray to disengage was very clever.
And now, with the fact that Haro is coming out of his base only now from the respawn, BLG are able to easily finish off that Infernal Dragon.
And I wanted them to take their moments, and they took a brilliant one right there. So it's now Mountain and Infernal to their name, and we talked about this. If their game plan is to go late game, they now have the Infernal on a Kog'Maw to make it that much easier.
And with time now back on their side, they're still only up about 1,000 gold over EDG. But with the Infernal Dragon gone, the next big objective is that Baron. And Baron hasn't always been BLG's friend in the past. I mean, you yourself mentioned earlier that, if anyone, EDG are a little bit more favorable towards the Purple Worm.
Let's change the word favorable to obsessive. Their compositions, they run this all the time. The Malzahar, the Kalista, the Cho'Gath, the Taric, obviously, it's a Varus this game, but they'll always have some sort of combination of champions. It used to be, for regional qualifiers last split, that they would run the Alistar Kha'Zix, which doesn't jump out at you as a Baron composition, but it was using the Kha'Zix stealth as well as the Alistar guard against Baron. And that's pretty much how they won every single game. They walk over to Baron, they set up a tent, they deny all of the vision, and either they find a pick with their comp, they burn it because you're just out of position for a single second, or they zone you away from it and just take it for free. But that is EDG's #1 win condition, not just in this composition, but just stylistically as a team.
That's exactly what we saw in game #1. I mean, EDG, this was their bread and butter, as you've been saying, but it looks like BLG, they're not even going to try to play around it this early on. Daisy is summoned up, the minion wave crashes in.
And that's the brilliant thing. Don't even play EDG's game. If they're going to pitch a tent, if they're going to try to create picks with the Malzahar and Fog of War around it, just force the siege. You have an Ivern, you have a Kog'Maw. The problem is that EDG still have Ray, and Ray has just been bullying Maokai the entire game, and he's virtually unkillable at this point. Look at his itemization. Look at how big he is. Multiple members need to respond to him, and that's where EDG strike.
Oh, and this is BLG now forced to defend mid. Demolisher isn't going to get any chip onto the turret as EDG, they just yo-yo back and forth, calling BLG's bluff.
If you leave, we'll take the Baron. If you don't leave, our Cho'Gath is going to run away with the bottom lane. What you gonna do?
I mean, look at their position on the mini-map. Ray is just happily walking past Amazing J to get the turret.
I think Athena's going in, though.
Yeah, he's still sitting on that package.
Dive, dive, dive! No.
He's just looking for the opportunity.
I want the aggression from BLG, and I never get it.
Scout, again, not even waiting for Haro. Just heading over towards his blue buff this time. He's got to be a self-sufficient Malzahar, a self-sufficient mid laner.
There's been about a 45-minute fight down bottom and multiple question mark pings from EDG.
Is anybody going to come kill this Maokai? He's overextended, I swear. Meanwhile, Amazing J saying the same thing, like, hey guys, Cho'Gath is pushing our base, and BLG's like, deal with it. Keep him there. Haro steps forward.
Have you seen the GIF where I believe it's King Kong jams a bunch of trees in Godzilla's mouth?
Oh yeah,
That's what's happening.
From the really, really old film where it was still a costume.
Exactly.
Just, but still, it's just constantly trading back and forth. Haro and Mako going to finish their recalls. And BLG now get the chance to put themselves back onto the map, start getting some vision around that Baron. Still, they're being respectful, though we are seeing EDG get back to even in gold. Only 300 behind now.
But they can start using their Porky to play into a side lane and playing with these waves. Scout did a good job making sure that it gets pushed. Athena, he's just going to take it. Take it like a man. But like you said, they want to creep in, they want to deny a lot of EDG's vision, at least place some of their own defensively so EDG can't get the objective for free. But I still feel that BLG do have that valid tactic that they can simply just try to siege.
Well, for now, they're just playing it slow, not looking for any sort of sieges.
They're trying to, the tug of war over vision to also deny any sort of flanking vision so that they can step forward safely to siege.
The big scare, though, is that the tug of war is with EDG, one of the best vision teams in the world. So
I wouldn't go that. Let's slow
hey,
down on the
Hold on. Okay.
Let's slow down the world.
Well, hey, this is one of the best teams in the LPL, and the LPL is one of the premier regions. Look, if we consider amateur teams as well.
If we expand the context, the statement stands. Here we go.
But here comes the flank from Amazing J. Jin Zhao and SKS leading forward along with him. It's the March of the Ents. And the question is, will Isengard fall or will it keep standing? And the first of the Ents looks like they're about to fall, but AJ is still alive. And Jin Zhao has been destroyed by Ray, who comes in from the side. Athena eating the Malefic Visions. As Amazing J is doing everything in his power to get health back, to stay alive, to buy time for his team. But it is not enough. He dies along with his AD carry. And now 3 versus 5, EDG have found their kills.
And with Kog'Maw dead, there's nothing BLG can do. So unfortunately, AJ just kind of threw himself to the wolves, trying to tank for no one that was going to do damage. And this is what EDG wanted. They set up their tent, they never left mid lane, and as soon as BLG made a mistake, they moved towards the Baron. Here comes the counter.
Yeah, teleport coming in from Athena. He's going to start trying to get some harass in there, but Aibo is the one who steps forward to zone them away. He's got big damage. They've got Vision Smite on SKS.
Here comes Ray for the feast.
And that's going to be the Baron secure for EDG. The Flash, Nether Grasp. Athena is caught and dead again. 4-4, but it's now Baron to EDG.
And suddenly, again, a very tight game where it felt like BLG were in control, that they were trying to be the drivers. EDG just rip it open on the back of another Baron. How much do they actually get with this, though? And with Ray and how big he is, probably a lot.
Yeah, they are breaking down that mid-tier 1.
AJ.
Jin Zhao stepping forward, like you said, AJ, with a teleport flank from behind. But Jin Zhao, he can't step forward. He doesn't have the Bioarcane ready. Now he's going to finally start shooting damage. And immediately, EDG just turn and back away.
So much credit to Ray. I cannot emphasize this enough. I hope we get a replay of just that last fight. The reason why Jin Zhao is so scared to step forward, yes, he is waiting for his Bioarcane barrage. Whoa.
Yep.
It's all about that W cooldown. But how Ray is zoning him out. It's like he's in Jin Zhao's head. He says, I still have Rupture. I can still make your life a living hell. If you mess up, I will be there. Ray is causing so much havoc for that Kog'Maw.
And here's the fight again that led to the Baron earlier.
And there it is. He finds him with the knock-up. Jin Zhao then steps forward because Ray disengages into the brush, and then just boom. Ray chomps down on the Kog'Maw, all of the damage is done, and then AJ at this point, he's like, well, I might as well. Goes back in, but there's no damage follow-up. Another perfectly timed Rupture on Athena denies a lot of Corki's damage coming out. Ray is a god this game.
Now we've got EDG sieging in the mid lane. The tier 2 is eating a lot of damage, and that's going to be the Flash Smite. AJ again is left out to dry. Nether Grasp, but he's got a lot of health. Cosmic Radiance buys some time. Nature's Grasp with the snare, and a huge Valkyrie trying to get some damage across. And Jin Zhao, he's going to start doing some damage. Athena harassing from the side. Ray separated from his team, 1 versus 4, and they are still having trouble bringing him down. Finally, his health goes low and he drops, shut down. But again, BLG, they pull the rabbit out of the hat. They keep themselves in this game.
That was a deep dive from Athena to finally take down, what, 2 monsters of EDG. That's still multiple Barons left available for them, but something back on the board.
Immediately, BLG try to race forward. They do not have the time to allow this gold difference to increase for EDG. They're rushing down turrets.
And it's clever how they're doing it. The fact that AJ is making sure that he's always grabbing the tower aggro to preserve the creeps. But Varus is like, no more.
Yes, just a quick piercing arrow to finish it off. And suddenly the Ivern Maokai is making a lot of sense. Because you put a big shield on that Maokai and he does not go down. But here's that play again. AJ looks like he's caught, maybe not.
It's more the fact that we're going to burn everything we have on the Maokai. It didn't work and Kog'Maw's free-firing in the backline. That's strange. I wonder how we lost this one, guys.
Funny how that works out. Oh, I see. It was the stun that kept Ray separated from his team.
Then my favorite thing is actually the split fight here where Athena's like, control ward, all of EDG, control ward.
Listen,
sometimes you're just
vision
between
priority.
a rock and a hard place, and you don't know who to hit first.
Oh boy, but now 31 minutes into the game. We're nearly at the Infinity Edge for Athena. Already 2 items finished for Jin Zhao. He's almost got his Blade of the Ruined King. BLG, they're starting to scale up into this late game shred, this late game poke. But EDG, they've got themselves the advantage for now. How long will it last, though? And can they out-macro BLG here so that they don't end up losing to this 5v5 snowball?
And it feels like they're not even trying to out-macro or out-think a team. You know, this isn't about playing side lane pressure anymore around Ray. EDG have just resigned themselves that they're going to group up into a big ball of death, and they're going to run it BLG. But that's left them open to... In that last fight, it was Athena splitting the fight apart with his package. And in the previous one, AJ finding a flanking teleport play. And that's always the danger against BLG in these late game scenarios.
The Hail Marys. If a team is only does one thing, only fires Hail Mary after Hail Mary, you have to imagine they're going to be pretty good at it eventually. But now, EDG, they group up. They're going to start getting some harass onto this Tier 2 as their wave is crashing in. Ray is split pushing with teleport. With Demolisher stacking up, Scout loses his Banshees, still sitting on that phase shift.
And it's not so much that Ray is split pushing as much as he is, you know, he's put the casserole in the oven, but he's already got one there. He's preparing it for them. So as soon as EDG rotate back mid lane, he's like, I prepared this earlier. Boom.
It's a cooking show, yeah.
We're ready.
And now he swaps back over. You can see AJ is forced to defend that mid, but with AJ gone, with that front line missing,
Here comes
EDG are free to push
assault.
up. They've got so many wards here. They see Amazing J well in advance. Daisy finally going to drop. As Amazing J, he can't find an opportunity to go in. He's too busy clearing wards. Unless he flash engages iBoy. Perhaps a bit of disrespect. He flashes back, shielded. Cosmic Radiance. They're burning through AJ's health, and they're able to shred through Haro with the late Cataclysm. Chains of Corruption. He's going to tag onto Jin Zhao and Road, but only the two.
But that may slow down EDG's push. So much executed there, but look at how patient they're being. This could be really risky, but this will be the make or break, and Ray is in position to flank.
Ray's on this side. Look at how much health he's getting. He can hop over the wall real quick. Flash, knock up onto Athena. He cleanses and gets away from another. Another Daisy has been spawned to try to defend, but it's not enough. Finally, the Tier 2 has been broken.
And Ray covers the mistake that iBoy had made in his positioning in the previous fight, and now suddenly the gold is just starting to inch away from BLG a little bit. It feels like they can't do enough damage, that they're missing key itemization on Jin Zhao. This game is going to have to stall it a little bit longer before BLG can find that Hail Mary miracle team fight.
Finally, he's got his Blade of the Ruined King. Finally, Athena has got his Infinity Edge, but compared to the items from EDG, will it be enough?
Can they do any damage to Cho'Gath?
Yeah.
This is literally...
He's just too big.
He's just getting mobbed by little minions, and he's just like level 80 and just storms through them.
Have you ever had an Earth game go that long? Have you ever gotten above level 30?
Have you ever had a Jin Air game go that long?
It strikes too real, too close to the heart. Like, let's try to keep the CS under 500. That's a bit more manageable.
The thing is, it's only 33 minutes in. This is a short game to NALCS.
Exactly.
They're like, you guys haven't even... But I'm like, oh, man, what? Where's the fights? Where are the stopwatch times? Today was going to be strange. We knew it was BLG, it was Vici, it was Team WE. Big 5v5 team fighters, so we should have slightly slower games because they want to focus on that post-lane phase action.
But now the lane phase has come close to an end. Baron is up in 10 seconds.
I think it was up about 17 minutes ago.
Yeah. Up again.
There
Infernal Dragon coming up soon, shortly thereafter. Athena spotted out by a control ward. Ooh! Oh no, he didn't see it. They know he's on the side. They know he's got the package, but EDG, they go back to their favorite Purple Worm. Look at that vision for BLG.
They're gonna burn
They've got to race in blind. Sweeping out these wards, trying to fight. Haro steps forward, but Ray immediately starts to clear out the wards. No, excuse me. He's working on the Baron, but there is a package ready right in the front. No, it wore off for Athena. And Daisy is dead.
The thing is that they have to fight here because they can't outsmite the feast. So here we go.
Knock up onto SKS. Haro in the back. Cosmic Radiance. Jin Zhao firing across. He can't do any damage. Amazing J is buying time, outlasting the invulnerability. Haro low. Nether Grasp onto Road as Ray manages to kill him, but AJ is back at full health. Now it's 4 versus 5, but Haro is forced to pull away. AJ again goes in. It's tank versus tank. And it looks like BLG decide to give ground. There's a wave pushing top. There's a wave pushing bottom. BLG know the clock is ticking, and still they take their chances. They try again, pushing backwards and forwards. Amazing J eats too much crowd control, and he goes down to Ray. Now Jin Zhao firing, but he's knocked up again. The rupture, and Athena chases them back.
And so right now, EDG are just trying to buy time for the Warmogs. They will go back onto this Baron, but they're waiting for health to pick back up. They also have the option of top lane.
Oh, Ray's coming around from behind them. That Godzilla is very stealthy. Oh no, the Flash Nether Grasp is going to catch on the SKS. Another kill for EDG, and with Smite dead, BLG have got to bail.
And it's back to the Baron. EDG wait out another prolonged team fight, and it's just an Infernal Drake as scraps for BLG. But this is the thing. BLG have so many options where they don't need to put themselves in these scenarios. They could have had someone solo that Infernal Drake. They could have tried to force EDG to respond to them by pushing mid lane. They are falling for EDG's tricks.
And this is exactly what you talked about a little bit earlier. Mako, if you listen to comms, he says, slow it down, slow it down. Frosco, my goodness, that fight was 2 minutes long. And it was exactly what EDG wanted.
Again, I love listening to the comms for EDG when we do get a peek into them with the mic check, because I think it's very interesting. You don't hear a lot of global teams kind of talk about the speed of a fight. It's normally, you know, focus this guy, flashes down, the cooldown's right there, I've got this, I'm going forward. But with EDG and Mako in particular, it's always slow down, be patient, wait it out. And when you have a composition like this, when you are reliant on the Warmogs to kick back in, look at how big he is!
He's real big.
Then it makes so much sense when you see how EDG, you know, kind of dance through a team fight. It's just very fluid and very beautiful to watch, and that's really what's winning them this game and this series. Their 5v5 is just better.
And just because of that, they're, well, not just because of that, but because of that, and
really
in addition to many other things, they're now ready to siege once again. 2.5 minutes. Ray, he's so tall he can see over the walls of the rift into the void beyond. I have no idea what lies outside these walls. I have no idea what's on the other side of this. As Ray breaks down yet another turret, and EDG are pushing on the inhibs.
Fall back to the other wall.
Helm's Deep is about to fall here.
We are on completely different nerd culture right now. I'm on Attack on Titan. You're on Lord of the Rings.
Ah, okay.
Get on my level.
I see. Oh, another grasp onto Road. Chain of Corruption. He's eating a lot of damage. The knock-up, and finally he dies. Right from the side forces Jinzhao to sidestep. BLG still defending, but this next wave is going to be dangerous.
Yeah, defending one man down, and Road had his ultimate, unfortunately never got to use it, so BLG are just going to have to burn the house.
Yeah,
the yard's
right
gone,
back.
Kick open the door.
The whole thing. The inhibitor is now broken. Ray steps up top, but Amazing Jay and Athena do nothing to him. That's the Cosmic Radiance. Cataclysm onto Jinzhao. He's still trying to stall this out firing, but the Rupture and the Flash Beast from Amazing Jay. Look, he doesn't want to win. He wants to style on BLG. Again, EDG saying, respect your elders. As they finish off these final kills, they turn onto the Nexus turrets. And ladies and gentlemen, EDG, after dropping to Snake, show, hey, prove them wrong with results. They take the series 2-0.
And it's the fact of how they did it. Yes, Mako was pivotal in a lot of these team fights. We know that he does the shot calling for the team. But this is a new EDG, and that guy on your screen, he is the big name. He is the hero of the day. 7, 1, and 4 on that Cho'Gath. Ray, new top laner, comes in big.
Yeah,
takes
absolutely.
Down the old top laner.
The return of Ray to EDG. And game 1, they put their faith in iBoy. Game 2, they put their faith in Ray, and it is happily rewarded. Everybody just checking the damage done as they make their way over to shake hands with BLG. But this is now BLG's first series loss of 2018. That puts them at 3-2. And they've only dropped a single game before this. And just like that, it has tripled against EDG. BLG now 2-9 against their previous sister team.
Unfortunately, they can't crack the code that is EDG, and it doesn't matter when they stumble against Snake, doesn't matter when they have a bit of a hard showing against FPX. At the end of the day, EDG always get to take the bow. The Goliaths of the league, no matter who is on that roster.
And now EDG, along with iBoy, smiling at his fans' adoration, the crowd cheering them on, going to make their way backstage. Of course, this now makes them 2-2 in the groups. They're getting back up towards the top after a bit of stumbling.
Yeah, if they're not undefeated, no one is undefeated.
Exactly. Trying to balance it out. Ray, he's a great dude. He's very tall as well.
Yeah, he's super tall. When he stood up and I got to speak to him backstage, I was actually very surprised about how tall he was. And again, the fact that he speaks some Korean, some Chinese, and some English, and you could tell immediately that he spent some time around Cloud9. There's just some of that meme-glish, is that what we call it?
Yeah, I think that's going to be it. Still, though, he's going to be making some fans after that performance in this game, but EDG showing that, hey, they are still the powerhouses. BLG reminded that maybe they should respect their elders. Maybe just because you're 3-0 so far, just because you're the top of the group so far, don't count on it.
It means that they still need to diversify their playstyle. BLG are still reliant on the same old tricks as our EDG, but unfortunately those aren't going to be around forever. The fact that AJ had to reach all the way back into Maokai of all picks to try to make this series work, they've had a good initial start to the LPL, but if they want to stay strong, they need to shake that up.
Yeah, and take a look at that damage to champions. Both Athena and Jin Zhao out-damaged their counterparts, but Ray, 13,000 more damage than Amazing J. Absolutely huge over the course of that game. Caught me by surprise there on the camera. Hey, hi there. Still, huge play from EDG. It is encouraging to see them stick so true to their motto.
I do want to say, though, that while Ray was very impressive in that game, and he definitely deserves recognition, those damage stats are pretty easy to maintain when you're literally hitting Maokai for like
all the
45 minutes.
Yeah. You've got to imagine, though, that some of those feasts had to have contributed as well. The flash feasts onto Jin Zhao so many times. And, I mean, you were pointing out his ruptures over the course of these fights. He had it clued in. He knew what he had to do.
Multiple targets hit on silence, multiple times that he only hit his target, as well as zoned away key targets like Corki and Kog'Maw with the ruptures, and then key feasts. He already talked about it. I think that was 3 times in that game that he grabbed the Kog'Maw specifically. So, Ray, if he doesn't get MVP, I'm done.
Well, we're going to find out in just a few moments. We're going to go ahead and find out whether or not he will. We're going to toss it to our analysts to break it down.
Thank you so much, guys, and fully agree with you. I feel like Ray was definitely the man of the match there. He was an absolute monster, quite literally on the Cho'Gath. The guy who just wouldn't die, and he did a billion damage as well.
It was pretty absurd from Ray, and yes, Frostgurn is correct. The tanks were hitting each other an awful lot, but he did damage where it mattered when it counted, and to the correct targets. And Ray had an absolute blinder of a game. It was phenomenal from him, and he was just doing the correct moves. You know, they both built Warmogs, Harrow and Ray, as jungler and top laner respectively as well. They both played incredibly well.
Yeah, and I will say that series was a lot less close than I thought it was going to be. I mean, there were a couple team fights in Game 1, but Game 2 was pretty much a whitewash. And there you go. We just had to do some of the paperwork, but Ray's going to take the MVP of this one on his Cho'Gath. I mean, we've already said everything that is to be said about this guy.
7-1-4, 92% kill participation.
Let's read off some of the stats while we're at it.
The stats are insane, so we may as well appreciate them for the time that they are on the screen. And Ray did have an absolutely fantastic game and whole set. And the biggest thing is not necessarily the 36% damage, which usually is the most outstanding stat for all of these guys. It's how he played the matchup, not just having the Warmogs, but using ruptures and threatening with his champion's kit. The fact that he's able to, firstly, he changed his rune setups to be super tanky and sustain through lanes. He actually went for precision secondary with Resolve as the first tree, Grasp with the Undying, Presence of Mind, so that he can use spells in lane. He can control the lane as the 1v1 goes, but then that gives him health through Grasp with the Undying procs, gets out of laning phase with like 5,000 health, and even Amazing J couldn't keep up with him.
And it was impressive as well, because he picked it in Game 2, and Game 1 is like, okay, it's going to be a counter pick against Vladimir, which obviously worked, but then Game 2 picks it again anyways, and it was still super good. And almost relegated Amazing J onto picking the Maokai, and it was very much a battle of the tanks for like 90% of that game, because they were just sat in mid lane, they were just hitting each other over and over and over again. That was like most of the team fights until we finished the game.
I mean, the curious part about that as well, and why is this even successful for EDG, has to be the question. They were against a Kog'Maw who's meant to kill tanks faster than a Varus can kill tanks. Both excel at doing so, but of course the Kog'Maw is just a Kog'Maw. He's got W, he'll press that, and the tanks will naturally just start to melt away. But Cho'Gath was able to play it differently. Every time you saw Amazing J, he was by himself in the front line. Ivern had to shield him, so Kog'Maw just had to constantly try and kite back. Cho'Gath was hitting ruptures on the Kog'Maw, so he's not going to be able to do damage, whereas the Varus was freely hitting Maokai the entire time.
And frankly, what's impressive to me is that EDG is able to put together so many different iterations of their roster and still be the flagship team of the LPL. Like, how does that keep happening? Is it an organization thing? Is it like a player thing? Because it just keeps happening. They can put new players in, they slot them in. I still see him as pretty much a rookie at this point, because he played, what, 20 games last split, and now he's just here. And they have 2 more rookies on the team, technically, if you include Ray.
I would say that a lot of it comes down to the organization teaching their players. So Clearlove teaching Mako perhaps, and Mako now able to teach the rest of the team how to play League of Legends, how to shot call, and how to just be a cohesive unit. Because that second game, they played what was effectively a pick composition with Execute, so the Varus to lock them down, you had the Taric to lock them down, and you had the engage from the Malzahar as well, which was the biggest factor. Meta, they knew full well that the game was going to be played front to back, but the fact that they executed on that performance from a front to back sense was honestly just incredible from them on a communication standpoint.
100%. And you look towards those picks as well, as you said, the Mazahar. But I'm glad we were talking about Mako, because we are going to take a quick break. But when we get back, we'll be talking to Mako, courtesy of Clement. We'll see you soon.